Hi and welcome to part 2 of the series of the remodel of our half bath. In this part I will be installing the nickel gap siding in this bath. Hope you enjoy. Next step is to mark where the studs are so I'll know where the nail. Can use a stud finder. Center here. Or you can use a magnet looking for nails or screws. So I'll continue to do that and mark the lines. All the lines have been drawn for the stud locations. So now we're ready to start. Our ceilings are 10 feet, so that's 120 inches. Each of the nickel gap boards are 5¼ inches. So you divide that into 120, you get 22.857. So that's a little less than 23 boards. And the 0.857 equals around 4.5 inches. So 4.5 inches will be big enough. If it was something else, then you'd want to cut the bottom pieces. But since 4.5 will be okay, I think I can just start with full boards on the bottom. So now we're ready to do the measurements for the first board. This is 37½ inches. So we'll cut the first board. So I've marked my first board at 37½ inches. And then I've set this stop to be 37½ inches because I'll be working my way up the wall. I could adjust this if I need to, if the wall's not straight. So I'll make the first cut. So here's the first board cut. I'm thinking of putting some dados here so the next board can go in. If it looks good, then I can avoid using any corner molding on the inside corners. We'll see how that works out. Notice these boards have two options: to have a straight nickel gap or a bevel gap. We like the straight nickel gap, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I have the router table now set up to do a dado, the thickness of the board, and about halfway through the board. So here it is, the perfect depth and thickness. You want to ensure the first board is level. For the second bar, I have to cut out for the pipe. Just going to mark it. So we'll cut that out. So here's the piece cut out, just drill the 1-inch hole and then use a saw to cut the rest. That fits great. And the rest will be straightforward. Here's the first back wall completed. I guess I miscalculated at the top. There's this piece smaller than I was expecting, but not too small, still looks okay. So here's the second wall. It's 59 3/4. And this direction, the floor is pretty level, so we're good there. And then we can continue with the rest of this wall. All the nickel gap has been installed now. Next step is to make some casing to frame the door because of the thickness of the nickel gap. I want to make about 3.5 inches wide and make like a lip. So basically extending this out, but making it in one piece. So I did go and buy some poplar to do that. Here is 2 pieces of 6'4" rough poplar lumber, which I purchased at Woodworker Source. Now just cut the size, plane it down, and create the door casing. Cutting the long piece at about 101 inches and the shorter piece for the top at 36 inches. Next step is to mill the 6'4" rough lumber to just a little over 1 inch. Next is create a straight edge in order to be able to then rip it to the 3.5 inch width. So now I have the door trim cut to 3.5 inches. Now just ready to cut, I don't know if you want to call it a large dado, to finish the trim. So here are the casings cut out. So I cut out this piece to make an L shape. So the 2 sides and the top. Here's the door entry with the casing installed. I found that the prefab corner molding is quite expensive at Home Depot, so I'm going to try to make my own using this 8'4" poplar. So first I'm going to cut it in squares and then cut out the corner for the corners. So I started off with cutting this piece to 9 feet and now have the saw set to cut it square, the same thickness. So we'll start with that. So here are all the pieces for the outside molding. I just have to cut out a square for outside corner. I've just got one extra piece to to experiment with. First is the thickness of the baseboard, so I'll set the fence to that. And then I'll have to set the height, so basically the height would be about the thickness of the baseboard. So here's the practice piece cut out for the outside corner molding. Now I can go ahead and cut the rest. Next step is to do the outside corner molding around the entry to the toilet area. Here's the corner molding to the entry to the toilet area, both sides of the wall done. Next step is to do the baseboards, both at the floor and at the ceiling. All the molding and trim is complete now. The only area that remains is where the vanity will go, that wall. Just can't do the corner molding until the vanity is in to know what length it is. Next step will be to fill all the holes and do the caulking. Filling the holes and doing the caulking is now complete. Next step will be to sand. Everything now sanded. Next step is just to do all the prep before painting. We'll be painting the ceiling also, so I'll remove those grates and put plastic or paper on the floor. Completed 2 coats of painting. I think this will conclude this video for the installation of Shiplap in this half bath. Next video will be building a cabinet. New light fixtures have been installed. All the receptacle and light switches put back. Here's the new ceiling light to match. And the grates installed. Next step is to design and build the vanity.